Meeting was called to order at 7:33 p.m. All rise as you can for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence or silent prayer as your conscience finds appropriate. Thank you. Please be seated. This meeting has been recorded. Bar covered up my thumbnail so I couldn't see where the camera was at. Members of the council, you have an agenda before you. Are any changes required to that agenda? And do you have any stated any conflicts of interest that you need to let us know about?
No, sir.
I have neither.
Okay, I will take that as a no. Can I please have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Smith to approve the agenda as provided. Is there any discussion of this motion? Are there any public comments on the motion to approve the agenda as provided? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang,
Aye.
Councilmember Callan.
Aye.
And Councilmember Mejia, unless she is masquerading as some other person, is not in attendance this evening. That brings us to presentations. And first presentation. And again, Zoom has messed up my careful window arranging, but I'll see if I can fix it. Proclamation in honor of Black History Month 2025. Whereas the mayor and council are proud to join with town residents, business owners, visitors, and employees, along with individuals and communities throughout the country, in celebrating February as Black History Month and acknowledging the 2025 theme being African Americans in Labor. And whereas in February 1926, Dr. Carter G. Woodson initiated a one-week celebration of the historic contributions of Black people to American life, and this celebration corresponded with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln, and in 1976, this period of celebration was expanded to include the month of February. And whereas when Black History Month was officially established, President Gerald Ford called upon the public to, quote, seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. And whereas the town of Riverdale Park recognizes that now more than ever, Black history must be taught, discussed, and celebrated throughout the year. And whereas still today, racial injustice and inequity against Black people are widespread. And whereas racial justice and inequity are destructive to our values and our future, and must be local, state, and national priorities. And whereas the town of Riverdale Park is committed to racial justice and equity, diversity and inclusion, and to supporting policies, programs, and initiatives that aim to eradicate systemic racism and undo its historical damage. And whereas our town's cultural diversity enriches our community, and Black heritage is an inseparable part of that enrichment as it weaves throughout our history, profoundly influencing every aspect of life. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Riverdale Park's mayor and council do hereby proclaim February as Black History Month and call on everyone in our community to work for racial justice and equity this month and throughout the year in recognition and celebration of Black history. Y ahora mismo, una proclamación en honor al mes de la historia afroamericana 2025. Considerando que el alcalde y el consejo se enorgullecen de unirse a los residentes de la ciudad, propietarios de negocios, visitantes y empleados, junto con individuos y comunidades de todo el país en la celebración de febrero como el mes de la historia afroamericana, y respetando el tema de 2025, afroamericanos y su labor, y considerando que en febrero de 1926 el Dr. Carter G. Woodson inició una celebración de una semana de las contribuciones históricas de los afroamericanos en la vida estadounidense, y esta celebración se correspondía con el cumpleaños de Frederick Douglass y Abraham Lincoln, y en 1976, ese periodo de la celebración se amplió para incluir el mes de febrero. Y considerando que cuando se estableció oficialmente el mes de la historia afroamericana, el presidente Gerald Ford pidió al público que aproveche la oportunidad para honrar los logros de los afroamericanos, a menudo olvidados en cada área de actividad a lo largo de nuestra historia. Y por cuanto la ciudad de River Park reconoce que ahora más que nunca la historia afroamericana debe enseñarse, discutirse y celebrarse durante todo el año, y considerando que aún hoy la injusticia racial y la inequidad contra los afroamericanos están muy extendidas, y por cuanto la justicia racial y la inequidad son destructivas para nuestros valores y nuestro futuro, y deben ser prioridades locales, estatales y nacionales. Y considerando que la ciudad de River Park está comprometida con la justicia y equidad racial, la diversidad y la inclusión, y con el apoyo de políticas, programas e iniciativas que tienen como objetivo erradicar el racismo sistémico y deshacer su daño histórico, y considerando que la diversidad cultural de nuestra ciudad enriquece a nuestra comunidad y la herencia afroamericana es una parte inseparable de ese enriquecimiento, a medida que se teje a lo largo de nuestra historia, influyendo profundamente en todos los aspectos de la vida. Ahora, por lo tanto, se resuelve que el alcalde y el consejo de la ciudad de River Park proclaman por el presente febrero como el mes de la historia afroamericana, y hacen un llamado a todos en nuestra comunidad a trabajar por la justicia y equidad racial este mes y durante todo el año en reconocimiento y celebración de la historia afroamericana. Muchas gracias.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
this is a beautiful proclamation. I do, however, note a conspicuous lack of mention of Mr. A. Philip Randolph, being that this year's theme is African Americans in labor. So would just encourage everybody to go learn about A. Philip Randolph and pay a visit to his statue inside of Union Station.
Thank you for that addition, Councilmember. I will try to hop one of the MARC trains down there and take a good look and learn some more about him.
You can board it in Ward 1.
I'm aware of that. I've heard that from someone before. I can't remember.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. That's right. That's right. Okay, I'm trying to mark up my agenda so I don't lose track of where I are. And so the next presentation is fiscal year 2026 budget, preliminary additions to the capital improvement project pipeline.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. It's a pleasure to share with the council tonight the preliminary additions to the FY26 pipeline. And I say preliminary because we're not sure all these are going to make the proposed budget. We'll find out on Valentine's Day more of what our revenue looks like. And so the purpose tonight is to walk through just some of the staff ideas, get initial reaction from the council and then the community, and see if there's anything else the council would like to see as it relates to the CIP pipeline. I will add that these are projects in addition to the standard streets and sidewalks and that sort of thing. And all the projects that are in the current budget that will continue to next year. We had discussed those back in mid-December. And so with that, let's move through the slides. And you can keep going there. All right, so The town center trail realignment, so that's a project that's in the current budget, but this one is looking at interim measures. So we have asked the engineers and Mr. Tissue whether or not there's anything that can be done in the more immediate to make the area safer. And we don't have a response back on that, but it could be signage, it could be striping, it could be direction of traffic. What measures can we take now before there's a implementation of a complete redesign? So we're waiting for a response on that, but from the staff perspective, if there are things that we can do, we should go ahead and do those in the more immediate. Solar panels on town-owned buildings. So you'll see there's a slide here where we need to put a new roof on DPW. But that conversation sparked, where can we add solar panels? And we have it titled as town-owned buildings because we have to remember that we also own a large building further up Queensbury. And the fire department building, and whether or not that roof would be a good space for solar panels as well. And so we're going to look at all the town buildings. Laverne Peaks, who manages our grants, is working with an individual from the state who's going to give us advice on where we can add panels, and expect to see a significant return on our investment. And the plan is to then seek grant funding to at least in part pay for these additions. So the DPW roof replacement, that's something that needs to occur, I would say, within the next 2 years. We're going to try to fund it in 26. But the roof is near its end of useful life, and we don't have active leaks now, but it needs replaced. And so with that being said, we would seek to replace the roof and then have kind of tandem projects as it relates to the solar. So we have 2 projects we're listing as accessibility. And so we're going through the municipal center project overall. We have one aspect of the project that is not going to be resolved with our current contractor. We may have sufficient funds still in the budget to complete this before the start of 26, or at least start it before the start of 26. But we're working out the exact design and estimates, and that is the connection between the police department and town hall. There was poor communication between our architect and the contractor, and we ended up with steps and not a ramp. And so we're working through that, and we're going to have to make a few other little tweaks to make the ramp work. And then the next aspect is doing some additional work on accessibility at 6401 51st Street. I don't know why it says Avenue after that, but it's the former Boys and Girls Club, because I think it's 51st Street, isn't it? Or is it Avenue? Yeah. Anyway, the phase. Pardon?
It's Avenue.
Oh, it is
I
Avenue.
believe it's Avenue.
Oh, I've been calling it 51st Street all day. The front door is narrow, and there's enough room to do brickwork and make the front door wider. as well as put in a wider lead-in sidewalk, because the sidewalk leading to it right now is rather narrow. And so whatever the council decides to name that building, as staff are using it more for staff meetings and that sort of thing, we need to make sure the building's accessible. And so we want to put a new lead-in sidewalk and expand the width of the door. And then we're working with the Walk Bike Drive Safety Advisory Committee. They meet next Monday, and we fully anticipate the committee taking a vote on on several recommendations for improvements on Riverdale Road. Discussions have included raised crosswalks along the road from Lafayette to the Pocket Park. And so we'll wait until next week to see the scope that they're recommending. But we're looking at making improvements all along Riverdale Road. This is at Lafayette and Nicholson. This is property that I previously had suggested that the town explore selling this property to the adjoining property owner. I don't see that as a viable option. And so we wanted to put into the CIP actually terracing this area. We'll have a survey conducted, we'll terrace the area and put in native plants in the terraced area. And this will fall into some of the demonstration projects that we'll be conducting with our Safe Streets for All, but having some sort of artwork incorporated into some of our intersections, with the thought that this would also serve to slow traffic down as well. And then on Adam and Emily Plummer Park, we are meeting later this week with folks from the Loeb Fellows. We would like to have them come back and meet with the council at the end of this month and talk about their commemorative recommendations for Adam and Emily Plummer Park. And depending on the scope of their recommendations and the council's response to that, any improvements may have to be phased over more than one fiscal year. And then doing something for restrooms in town center. Whether they are restrooms that we utilize only for when there's an event, farmer's market or other types of events, or if it's public restrooms more generally. So we're exploring two options. There may be a third option as well, but the two that we're looking at right now is either having a structure with restrooms, or the picture on the left is a trailer that comes with flushed toilets and hot water sinks, but it's not directly plumbed in terms of the waistline. And but we think having some sort of a public accessible restroom is important as we reimagine the town center. And so we'd like to figure out a way to make something like this happen. And perhaps there's ways that we could work with some private property owners in the area as well to have a different option for having public restrooms. And then in front of Town Hall, and we've talked about, or the council's heard from some of our residents about having electronic message boards. And as the first effort, we're recommending preliminarily, depending on cost, adding one in front of town hall. And then perhaps as we go through the design process for town center, perhaps one could be added in town center. And then neighborhood information boards. Right now, we have basically a post with a 14 by 18 piece of plywood. We have at least 2 in each ward, and that's where we put out some important notices. We need to up our game there. And while this isn't a electronic kiosk, it's an improvement over what we currently have. And it's something we believe we can afford in the upcoming budget. And then placemaking banner project. And that's thought to have banners for a variety of purposes, but to have banners on our decorative light poles throughout town. And while this slide is up, I do want to say there's a variety of other things that we're working on that we're going to share with you all at the end of the month that relate more to community development and economic development. And some of them have aspects that are CIP in terms of costing more than $5,000, lasting more than 5 years in terms of a shelf life. But it's really more focused on programmatic things. And so we held those until we're ready to discuss that more thoroughly at the end of the month. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. It's nice to put that little tantalizing preview of next month's meeting. So thank you for doing that. Council members, you have questions. Councilmember Smith, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Love the visuals there and the planning. All looks great, particularly the intersection artwork I think is fantastic. Some of the folks, the Loeb Fellows, that we had side conversations about other things going on in town other than Plummer Park, had mentioned that as something that we could do to make streets safer. So it's exciting to see that work its way here, as well as restrooms in town center. I think that's a great project. I'm wondering, and the DPW roof project made me think of this, and with the Army Reserve Center like sort of in limbo right now and working towards hopefully transferring it, and then of course there's site remediation and stuff, so I know we're a long way there. My first thought was to ask for like a ballpark on like when it makes sense to not do those sort of larger scale maintenance projects on our current municipal center buildings, but I'm guessing we're not even at the point of being able to put that on it yet. So I'm wondering, I guess, if you could shed some light on just like how staff is thinking about that question, that at some point we will have buildings that need some level of continued maintenance, but also to begin planning for another town municipal center.
Yes. So very good point, sir. And it's something that the staff team has discussed. And so I would say this, anything that where the deferral of the maintenance would cause denouement, or I can't say the word, reduce the value. I just could not get that word out. But anything that would cause reduced value to the building, or cause some sort of a hazard, or that we have to, for compliance with law, anything like that, we're going to say we have to move forward with. For example, we have a current project to redesign some space inside of DPW building. But that's because we only have a male locker room, and we have to have a female locker room. Sure. And so that will add value to the building. Making sure the buildings are weather tight, again, add value. So I was going to try the word again, but it's not going to work.
I'm not even sure what that word is, so we can just skip it.
Yes. But anyway, anything that's going to protect the value. And I do plan on reaching out to some folks on the federal side to see where we may be with 6601. But I'm really not sure what type of response we're going to receive. So
I wish you all the best in that conversation, Mr. Town Manager.
yes, and I'll make sure I can pronounce all the words I plan on using during that. But I will say that DPW and Director Lewis, in particular, we've talked about can we, once the building transfers, can we start using portions of the property up there? And that answer is yes. And DPW would be a building that's in really, really good shape up there. We would have minor modifications to make, but the building itself is solid. It has a roof on from 2016. It's weather tight. The electric looks good. And so that aspect of the operation could move sooner. But things are going to be up in the air for a while.
Understood. Appreciate it, Mr. Town Manager.
Any additional questions on this presentation?
Mr. Mayor,
Uh,
Mr. Mayor,
Who went first? I'll call on Councilmember Kellogg. Go ahead.
you know, I have to commend the town manager for the suggestion that he made for that bathroom at the town center. That's very important. For that, I say kudos to you. But I don't know how fast and how often you guys going to start the project. So I want to know. Thank you.
So right now we're in the concept phase, and if it survives into the budget, we have to look at projecting cost and how we're going to fund it. And it may be that in fiscal 26 we work on design and the engineering and tie that into the larger project in the town center. But if the council chooses to go with the trailer option, that could be more immediate. And but I believe those trailers can run up to about 100,000. Is that what you found, Ms. Barnes?
A little bit under 100, about topped out about 80. So with
Okay.
everything.
So the trailer option is more expeditious, but we'll wait and see what the estimate cost is for a building, or perhaps exploring a partnership with private property owners in the area, perhaps even with new development in the area, whether or not there could be public restrooms attached to or within those projects somehow. So.
Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead. You can continue.
I don't know if you can bring that motion up now so that we can vote on it.
Well,
Good.
I don't think we're quite ready to get to a motion, because so we'll be having budget hearings and it will work its way into the budget over the months ahead. So
Well,
I think that the staff are taking note of your enthusiasm, and we'll make sure to put something into the draft budget. But
okay, well, I hope we can do that at the next meeting.
well, it's the draft budget is due in April. So but you can meet with staff and discuss items with them as you see fit over the next few months if you'd like to.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Yang, go ahead.
Yes. Appreciate the presentation. The monument signs or whatever they're called, like the one in front of, made me think of, I know we mentioned that we had some that were planned that I guess State Highway said we can't have them. Um, does any of those projects need to be pulled back into here, or is the funds already dedicated? Do we just have to like change the design? I'm just wondering if we need to pull, should that show up here, since I guess those town marker signs are probably have to be redesigned or rethought of.
Yes, so thank you for the question, sir. The redesign is well underway. I believe it's actually near complete. And we'll be coming back to the council for approval of reimagined designs. And we kept the money in the project. Now, depending on the design chosen, we may have some cost savings there. But we won't know that until we know what design is chosen by the council.
Thank you. And then the bulletin boards that are 2 per ward, I definitely agree. I think people may not even realize what they are if you just walk by them, because they're just white painted plywood. I know we I think talked about sort of opportunities for some that may not be like lit, but I think there were something like backlit or something like that. I know there were a couple of different options there. Just encourage the staff to think of maybe like a current design and like slightly more high end one if funds are available. Even if it's maybe one of those per ward, if we don't try to get 2, or at least being creative. I think it was like it looked more like, I just remember like an etch a sketch. It's probably not the scientific term for it, but it's something akin to that.
As someone who utilized an Etch a Sketch for a lot of years, I know exactly what you're referring to, sir. And but perhaps we could have like a solar light or something on them. That's something that we'll look into.
Thank you.
So one of the technologies that we at least discussed at one point was the e-paper technology, like they had in the original Kindles, and those are very low energy. It takes very little. Once it only takes energy when you're changing it, and it can hold the image. And there are displays like that available, and I honestly think they're pretty nice compared to some of the internally lit ones. And so we could have like an external light aimed at them for evenings.
Great. We'll put together some thoughts, and we would bring that, even though the cost would likely be under 20 per. I would think something like this that impacts the community, we would bring that back for a council discussion and your input at that time.
Are there additional council questions or comments on this presentation?
Mr. Mayor, if I might.
Councilmember Lingua, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Lustitian, I remember at the last budget hearing, you commented on our CIP portion of the budget. You thought it was ambitious.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you said perhaps too ambitious. Now, I know the staff does like a bunch of other weight. My impression is that your feeling is, along with staff, is that with the addition of these projects that you're looking to incorporate either in upcoming fiscal year or on up, or at a later time, that you don't feel would be taking on more than everyone would be comfortable with.
I would say this: it's important to have projects in the pipeline, and we have checked off some of our bigger projects. We've made either really good progress on, or they're near completion, or some are complete, and
Okay.
we have to keep that rolling. The measure that I use is what the community would benefit from, and what we can afford. And the staff team, we're working, we're adjusting process, and we're learning and getting better at getting projects completed. So I don't want the measure to be what we're comfortable with on a given day, but rather what it is that we think we can push forward to get things accomplished. And I think we have a pretty good track record overall. There's some projects that have languished, and then we've learned from that and figured it out, and then pivoted. Like in the case of these welcome signs, who would have thought that an engineer would design something that we can't build? But that's what happened. So now they've redesigned it. And so I'm comfortable challenging ourselves in an effort to better meet the needs of the community. I hope that answers your question, sir.
Well, I do appreciate your input on this. I hadn't realized that a number of the projects that were in this current year's budget were coming that near to completion. So I wasn't seeing how, with what you were presenting, it was really, wasn't able to really get a, to what degree this was expanding the scope of all of the number of projects that would be going on at the time. But if you're saying that we're having projects that are going to be wrapping up by the end of this fiscal year, and that it allows that opportunity to take on more projects or to start planning for more projects, that's understandable.
Yes, and projects that have taken a tremendous amount of staff time. The Tot Lot took an incredible amount of staff time. The Municipal Center took an incredible amount of staff time. Plummer Park, we have our permits now, but just the planning and going through the county process took an incredible amount of staff time. The municipal parking lot took an incredible amount of staff time. And we've made good progress on all those, and some of those are coming to fruition in the near term, and some are complete. So yeah, I feel good adding these projects, and they're all that list of projects. They're all relatively small projects. The largest being the restrooms in town center. The other projects, putting a roof on, adding solar, those are relatively minor projects. We control the buildings, and it's more just going through an RFP process. And so, yeah, I feel good about it, sir.
Okay. All right. I was going to mention this as part of my ward report because it is come up, but I've noticed something I've also brought to your attention as well regarding the issues we have with I guess it's technically stormwater management and old designs on can't really call them a French drain, but seemed years back a number of folks put in pumps that would discharge directly out into the street as opposed to discharging into a wastewater conduit that would lead to a sewer, and that it is causing different times of the year based on the amount of rainfall or how low the thermometer goes. We tend to have an issue with ice formation down along Longfellow, as well as down Taylor to or pardon me, not Longfellow, Oglethorpe,
Mhm.
and on down to around Madison Street. And
Yeah.
I know I've received emails, and I know I've shared those with you. And I would hope that as part of that this would be that this would be looked at in terms of with the larger scope we have of projects addressing stormwater management that are already in the planning stages on the CIP side.
Yeah, so thank you for asking that. As soon as you mentioned it, I knew exactly where you're talking about. This is a tough nut to crack. It's a private
Indeed, it is. Yeah.
it's a private property issue.
Mhm.
And when those homes, before those homes were developed, there was a lake
Yep.
in the backyard there. And the property owner installed a pump to keep their property from flooding. And without the pump, the water would fill up behind those properties and we'd have a lake.
Yeah.
And so trying to figure out a creative solution. I know Director Lewis has met with the county and talked with the county whether or not that project would be eligible. Ivy, can you indicate whether or not that they said it could be eligible or not?
It is not eligible because it's not stormwater. That's a part of the problem.
Yes, it's groundwater.
Groundwater.
And
Well, where
yes,
does stormwater go?
yeah, but it's
The
groundwater.
ground.
It's a spring,
Right.
essentially. It's groundwater. And so the short response would be, we could prohibit the discharge onto our street because it has caused hazardous conditions. It's caused damage to our infrastructure. And we could issue notices and abate it and clog the pipe. And then everybody's backyard floods. And so we really need a creative solution in getting the affected property owners together and see what can be done to the rear of their property. But the municipal participation plan that the county has is the plan that Ivy had spoken to the county about. And that's something that, as we just heard, is not a possibility because it's considered not stormwater. So
Yeah, I can see them saying that. The aspect I see about this is that being that the county is the source of all approval on anything that gets built and where it gets built, at some point, county approved in its history, the county approved homes being built on that site.
and you'll get no argument from me on that, sir.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, I mean, I think that's part. It seems to me that this could be an approach to go back to revisit with county, and maybe we start, as opposed to going to an office there, start with our council, our district council office, about this and see if something can be brought through that way, or at least have them try and be some type of a mediator in this between us and staff at county. I mean, they issue permits. They allowed property to be built on that lot many years ago. So in a way, what it's happening on that property is, they bear some responsibility for it. And in turn, would need to afford some type of remedy for allowing such a structure to be built. That's my thinking on it. I know we've worked with them in the past on other things to help get things redirected out stormwater wise. Both property down on Taylor and the work we did with them also over on Longfellow to help address stormwater issues. I know they might say it's a groundwater issue, You could say most anything on any property in this town is a groundwater issue, being that the water table here, you can pretty much dig down 4 feet and you'll hit the water table. So I'll leave it at that.
So, Mr. Mayor, we'll just continue to explore things, and we certainly can reach out to County Council Member Olson's office, make sure that he's brought up to speed on this. Because I do believe the maps, even in PG Atlas, I believe, show where the lake was.
That they show where the lake is, and in fact, I think that where the lake was is not part of the property that those homeowners may think is part of their property.
Yes.
So we should definitely reach out. Okay, any additional council comments on this presentation? Comments or questions? Are there any public comments or questions on this presentation?
Mr. Mayor, if I could make one ask of you and the council.
Certainly.
If anyone has any ideas, say in the next 2 weeks, for additional projects, things that you want us to look at, please let us know in the next 2 weeks in terms of CIP, because we'll be solidifying numbers and seeing what can stay in the proposed and not when we try to balance.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, that brings us on the agenda to my report. I have quite a bit of review items to discuss this evening. I will start out with the report of closed meeting. We had a report of closed meeting. We had a closed meeting last Monday, started at 10:46 p.m. Statutory authority was General Provisions Article 3-305B1 to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. Persons attending the closed session were council members Smith, Foe, Lingua, Inyang, Calon, and myself, and also Town Manager Listician and Director Barnes. And the topics actually discussed were a particular staff position and possible near future changes to the staff member holding that position. No actions were taken, no recorded votes. Closed session adjourned at 11:05 p.m. And again, statutory authority was 3-305B1. Concludes the report of the closed session. While we are talking about performance evaluations, I will remind council that performance evaluations for the town manager are due to me nominally at midnight tonight. I am allowed a little bit of flexible time, and I will be starting to compile them into the report this weekend. So please get them to me. You should have all those forms. Councilmember Calon turned his in several weeks ago. I'm still waiting on others. Please do provide them. And the comments, the ratings are very good, but the comments are extremely helpful for providing feedback to the town manager. A lot has happened in the last month to report off. We had the tragic bus crash where the bus driver had a medical emergency, perhaps died while driving. Bus came to rest after glancing off another building in the old bookstore and jazz building. Fortunately, no one was seriously injured except for the bus driver, who did, as mentioned, was deceased, unfortunately, and we reach out to our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family in this time. I know they must be having a very difficult time. The building, which had been slated for demolition, that was accelerated and it is gone. And so there's sort of a gaping hole in town, but there are plans underway to fill that with new housing. So that new housing and retail. So that will be moving forward. We've had a lot of snow and cold weather. It continues. There's a forecast. I'm not sure how reliable it is for next week that we may get sizable amounts of snow. And just remind everyone that there are town regulations and codes on how quickly you need to clear your sidewalks, which side of the road you should park your cars on. And I encourage everyone, if you can, to get your cars off the street. It makes it a lot easier for Public Works to clear the snow. And please try to stay on the correct side of the roads. And if you have a road that runs east-west, then it's generally east-west. It's the north side of the road that you should park on. If it's running north-south, it is generally the west side of the road that you should park on. And please reach out to myself or your council member or staff if you need guidance because you have an unusual situation. So please do try to do that to make snow removal work out better. There was, I was contacted by a resident about trash at Park Tanglewood. I believe the town staff moved pretty quickly to remedy that situation. It's not good, and I hope that we can get the property owners to do a better job. It had apparently built up over several days. I think that everyone who works for the federal government or knows someone who works for the federal government or is paying attention to the news realizes that we have a new presidential administration downtown, new Congress, and new presidential administration. And it has been a disruptive start. I count at least one constitutional crisis, and we are apparently we are temporarily not at the brink, but we are at the brink of a trade war. My thoughts and my consideration are with all the federal workers who live in town and their family members who are having to deal with this situation. And so if you know a federal worker, then please be sympathetic and provide them a shoulder to cry on and an ear to listen to them, because it's tough and there's a lot going on. The state legislative session is underway. There are weekly meetings of the Prince George's County Municipal Association Legislative Committee on Monday mornings at the, to me, very early hour of 8 a.m. I've been trying to attend those, along with many family issues I've had over the last month, which are calming down, thankfully. And the legislation I heard about this morning that was new to me is that apparently there's a bill, and it's the link to it is sitting in my inbox, that will treat affordable housing as a regional infrastructure. And we are having an affordable housing crisis, and so this seems like a good idea. But of course, the details of the legislation could cause problems for the the many projects that we have underway here, that we don't want to see the quality of the housing drop. And we have been negotiating to have as much affordable housing as possible associated with those developments. And so we want to make sure it will not disrupt our and other municipal activities to try to address the same issue that the legislation is aiming at. And I will be sending that to town staff to at least take a look at and see if they can provide a briefing on the status of that. Speaking of developments in Riverdale Park Station, the Legacy Mixed Use Town Center Local Design Review Committee met 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. Trying to remember when that was. It was a special meeting, and a bagel shop called Mother's is coming to the station, and the committee provided some feedback on the architecture, on the design. The applicant revealed to us that there was sort of a little bit of a gap in our existing legislation, that this is going to look nicer than it, but it's sort of a food truck on blocks. So it's a semi-permanent food truck, and it's going to go in the middle of the park that many people call Bear Square. And this gap seems to be something that we want to address in the long run, that we have these mixed use development zones, and we have stringent requirements, but also flexibility, and we work with the applicants to provide high quality development. And the fact that we had zero oversight on something like this seems like a gap in the legislation that we would want to address at some point. But I believe that the construction is more or less underway, and this one is going to come in under the current regulations. Last but not least, we have some upcoming elections. We have a primary for county executive that I think the voting will be in early March, but many of us have already received absentee ballots. And there are a lot of highly qualified people running, so I ask everyone to please pay some attention and see who's running and make a careful choice in that race. And we also have a deadline coming up at the end of this month for town elections. If you want to run for mayor, run for council, then those applications are due at the end of the month. And I announced this publicly at the work session last week, and it's in the town crier, that I will not be seeking office in May, neither council nor mayor. And I'm trying to say this not to get any discussion of it, except to just let people know so that they can make a careful decision about whether they want to run. I know of at least one person who is interested, but I don't believe that they have formally announced their candidacy yet for mayor. And with that, I will wrap up my mayor's report. And we can move on to town manager's report. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have quite a list of things to mention tonight, but I wanted to start the first thing from a police incident that occurred today, a police response. And I think it serves as a good example of things that our officers encounter and the good job that they do on a regular basis. So I'm just going to ask the chief to give a brief description of what occurred today. Chief?
Sure. First off, good evening. Around 1 p.m. This afternoon, our dispatch center received a call for a commercial home robbery at the Family Dollar in the 5500 block of Kenilworth Avenue. An individual went inside the business and attempted to steal numerous items of merchandise. The manager confronted this individual, bruised a firearm, and threatened the manager. Fearing for her safety, she moved out of the individual's way, and he fled from the business. The employees immediately called our dispatch center and provided a direction of travel and a description of the suspect. Corporal Spate, who was in the area, observed the suspect fleeing on a bicycle on Kenilworth Avenue. He was able to catch up to that individual in the 5200 block Kenilworth Avenue near Edmonston Road, where he discarded his bicycle and ran on foot. Fortunately, we were able to capture and arrest that individual without incident. We recovered a firearm from his person, which was loaded, and no one was injured, thankfully, officers or citizens or the suspect. But it was just a great job all around.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
And I think it highlights the danger. So, you know, we had a report of someone with a firearm, and the officers run towards this person and managed to disarm the person and take him into custody. It's worthy of highlighting that.
Yes, and I also mentioned that we found out later on that the individual was wanted for 2 additional robberies, one in Montgomery County and one in Howard County.
Oh, good. It's good that you all got him off the street.
Thank you.
And then a couple announcements. So the Walk Bike Drive Advisory Committee will meet next Monday on the 10th at 7:30. That's a virtual meeting. DPW and Town Hall operations will be off on Monday the 17th in recognition of President's Day. The town's Board of Elections will meet Wednesday, the 19th at 6:30 p.m. And that's a virtual meeting. There's a community conversation on February 22nd at 9:30 in the morning. And the topic is the upcoming election, the town election. The council work session is February 24th. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to repeat what you said, but staff have written out some dates and times for me. So the candidate filing deadline for the town elections is Thursday, February 27th at 5 p.m. And the Board of Elections will meet at 5:30 to review candidate packets, and the Ethics Commission will meet that same day at 8 p.m. to review the financial disclosure statements submitted by candidates. We're still seeking volunteers as election judges and members of the Board of Election Appeals. So we need some residents to volunteer. If you have questions about that, you can contact Director Barnes. Is that email elections@Riverdale Park? Can you
Town
clarify?
election. Yep, town election at riverdaleparkmd.gov.
Great. And the registration for the mayor and council, if you are interested in the MML Summer Conference, registration's now open. And the summer conference is being held June 22nd to the 25th. And let Director Barnes know if you're interested. A reminder of upcoming meetings, March 18th, which is a Tuesday, we'll have the State of the Town presentation. And then in April, we have 3 budget public hearings scheduled, and that's the 19th, the 24th, and the 26th. So that's a Saturday, a Thursday, and a Saturday. And then all staff, including elected officials, should have received an email about cyber security awareness training. And if you have questions, you can contact Director Barnes. And if not, just please click the link and complete the training as soon as practicable. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Do we have a finance report next? Monthly finance report?
We do, and we have Deputy Director Jones with us this evening.
Thank you. Yes, so tonight's finance reports cover for the month of January for fiscal year 2025, 24, and 2023, as well as a year-to-date total. So for the month of January, fiscal year 2025 revenue total $2,415,532. Expenditures total $705,307. We have a revenue net expenditure total of $1,710,225. For year to date, for fiscal year 2025, we have a revenue total of $9,524,560. Expenditures for year to date total $5,190,497, with a revenue net expenditure total of $4,334,063. So the last meeting, I did go into detail about the revenue. So I'll just provide a brief summary of revenue for the month of January. So again, we had a larger amount of real estate taxes budgeted for fiscal year 25, and the majority of that has been collected much earlier than we have in previous fiscal years. Additionally, we did receive confirmation from Unicap about the TIF revenues that we budgeted to flow back into the town. Typically, that happens near the end of the fiscal year, but we got confirmation early this year. So at this point for revenue, at least from a percentage standpoint, we are 7% higher than we were in fiscal year 2024 and about 5% higher than fiscal year 2023. Additionally, speed camera revenue is higher and has been budgeted higher for fiscal year 2025. So yeah, that explains why we have a higher revenue amount for fiscal year 2025 for the month of January. As far as expenditures for January, look to be similar to where we were in the previous fiscal year for January. We were at 711,000 in fiscal year 24. In fiscal year 23, we're at 706,000, as opposed to the current fiscal year of 705,000. So the town continues to be conservative with expenditures, especially with all the uncertainty surrounding the new administration. And additionally, we do have some salary savings with some unhired positions. Overall, town is in a favorable financial standing to meet its budgeted revenue and stay within its budgeted expenditures. Thank you. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Deputy Director Jones. Council members, are there any questions? Doesn't look like it. I neglected to report earlier that Councilmember Mejia joined us during the presentation on the preliminary additions to the capital improvement projects pipeline. So she's been here for quite a while. Okay, if there are no questions from the council, may I please have a motion to adopt the finance report subject to audit?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the finance report subject to audit.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Motion by Councilmember Lingua, seconded by Councilmember Foe to adopt the finance report subject to audit. Is there council discussion of this motion? Are there any public questions or comments on the motion to adopt the finance report subject to audit? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang,
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia,
Aye.
and Councilmember Kellogg.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda is the correspondence summary. There are actually no items in the correspondence summary, so I don't think there's much to discuss there. And then the next item beyond that is the fire department report. And I will just go ahead and read the fire department report. This is from Steve Lamphere, President, Riverdale Fire Department. Good evening, citizens, mayor, council, and staff. As reported in January, I am out of the country currently. Town manager asked for a series of reports from the county and the station. I know the report initially submitted by the county requires some additional work. Again, the county is the best source of the required data as I do not have access to it. Mr. Listician may have an update. There's progress being made with bringing several new previously trained members into the inn. These members are from other departments and are enthusiastic. It will still be some time before the onboarding process is completed. I showed specifics for the March meeting. And that concludes the fire report from Mr. Lamphere. Mr. Town Manager, do you have any updates on the fire department report from the county?
Well, I'd like to share that the county, and I'll call it a collaborative report between the county and the Riverdale Fire Department, Inc., forwarded a report to me, and it was insufficient. I had asked for very specific information, and the report did not include that. So I created a template and sent them a template just to fill in the blank because we got to get to the data. That's the only way that the council and our residents will understand what's transpiring at the fire department. And so that was sent over, and I received an email response from a deputy chief indicating that they received my request. They're going to respond to it. That was on the 27th. So I'll follow up at the end of this week to see where they are on that. And that was asking for December information. December 24, they're going to get an email from me asking for the exact same information for January. And I think once we get into a rotation of this, it should paint a picture for the council and the community to better understand who's responding to calls, how long is it taking to respond to calls, the volume of calls. And that will give us insight into the operation of the Riverdale Fire Department, Inc., which is the volunteer company that occupies the station there on Queensberry. I used the opportunity to share with the community that it is the county fire department that is responsible for fire and emergency medical services in the town of Riverdale Park. And I'll keep pushing to get the information, and as soon as I do, I'll share it with the council and then the community more broadly.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. And if you need any of us to speak to the electeds in the county, if you're not getting fast enough response, then please let us know.
I will certainly do that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any additional discussion of the fire department report? Any public comments on the fire department report? Okay, let's move on the agenda to council, committee, and ward reports, and we will start with Councilmember Smith, Ward 1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As mentioned earlier, not feeling well this evening, so I'm going to keep it brief. Once again, as discussed at the work session, thank you for all of your service to your town, Mr. Mayor. We really couldn't be the town that we are without you, so thank you. Similarly, as mentioned in the work session, condolences to the family of the WMATA driver, and thank you to town staff for responding quickly and getting that area secured and safe for the community around it after the accident a couple weeks ago now. Feel like there was something else I wanted to say, but I'm sure someone else will say it. So that'll conclude my remarks for this evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Foe, Ward 2.
Good evening, everyone. Spent the entire day doom scrolling. My next door neighbor just accepted a position less than a year ago with USAID. She has a brand new daughter and was told not to come to work today. Have another good friend that works for the Department of Education who is now finding potentially that they will be terminated. So it kind of brings you down when you see it everywhere. I go to school. I teach multilingual learners. Today was a day of, it was a protest day. We had 35% of our student population out. So roughly 300 of 750 students. I probably taught 25% of my students today. The impact of these policies is fear. And the impact of this fear is upon children. And oftentimes we are left with no responsible way than to say, I will assist you, I will protect you, not knowing what is coming next. And I just hope that if anybody is capable of analyzing what true leadership is, it does not lead to chaos. And that is what we are seeing currently over the last few weeks with this new administration, and it's not good in our community. Happy Black History Month. To move to a much better topic. I've been blessed to be able to teach United States history in Fairfax County for 21 years. Even more than that is that I've gotten to be a student of United States history. And why do we celebrate this month? Because, and I honestly believe this way, the story of African Americans in this country is the most compelling history that we possess. It is unimaginable suffering and perseverance through that. And I just constantly want to remind people here, one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life is I moved into this community. And I started studying or learning about the remarkable Plummer family that was enslaved in our community and ended up thriving in this community. You don't need to look outside of Riverdale Park to understand the remarkable ascension that even occurred in our community at this time period. And it's a story that I will continue to tell. I continue to learn about. I continue to be lucky enough to be put in these dialogues with people that explore the personal records of the Calverts, looking for any information that can help bring us more of the phenomenal story of what it is that actually occurred in the land that we are on right now. So with all uttered truthfulness, happy Black History Month. It is remarkable to study, and I would encourage everyone to continue to dive into that knowledge base. It's truly remarkable. And last but not least, I attended the Town Center redesign meeting a few weeks ago at Riverdale Elementary. And I forgot what public forums were like. We haven't had them for such an extended period. It's a lot of people talking. I don't necessarily know how many people are listening. It's one of the few opportunities where I actually get the opportunity just to listen and not speak. A lot of impassioned pleas that occur in those spaces. And we get caught sometime in this space between, how is it going to impact businesses? And I sit there with fellow council members, and there's nothing we can do to stop traffic, nor would we want to, right? I think a factor that we love about our town center is the success that Manifest Bread, Rivera Tapas, Town Center Market, 250 Texas Barbecue has in this space. It truly helps define who we are, and we can do nothing that will limit their access to a customer base. Simultaneously, we need to act on pedestrian safety. That area on Queensberry and Rhode Island and Maryland Avenue and Lafayette is it's abhorrent for pedestrians, for drivers, for bike riders. We need to act. And what I left that meeting with, anytime I drive past Riverdale Elementary, I see the butterfly on the side of the building, connecting to the fatalities of 2 young children that have happened in our community. And this always needs to be our guidepost in this dialogue, right? We want to represent all of the ideas that are coming into play, but we owe it to our community to place forward pedestrian right-of-ways, safer roads, that allow for our community to safely thrive, right? That is an incredible space that we have this opportunity to redesign, and let's celebrate our businesses, but simultaneously, let's make it the most walkable and bikeable community in Prince George's County. We have access to that. We have a gifted group of individuals in our Walk, Bike, and Drive committee. And we're going to listen to engineers. We're going to make this space safe for everyone. And moving forward, I think that's the only dialogue that we should have. I have no more. I said I've been doom scrolling all day, but then I come to a town meeting and I feel better about my participation in government. And again, you guys continue to always offer me respite and an opportunity to make my voice heard in a positive and productive way. And I am grateful for that opportunity every time I get it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Lingua, Ward 3.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So brought up earlier, I've been hearing from residents regarding issues, for lack of a better term, or let's just say water-related issue, be it ground or storm, along the areas along Oglethorpe and down Longfellow or down Taylor towards Madison. And granted, while this is, this is coming from a single source on Oglethorpe, I know, as I've seen around town, there are other properties that have similar setups to remedy groundwater on their properties, so as not to have their basement slowly decay on them. And I think it's for us as a body to try and find a way, working through the county, working with whomever can assist us on this, to find a way to address this. We're looking at what was either A, being allowed, or B, just not, or just being, politely put it, overlooked by previous bodies and previous government entities. And we're finding now that this is an issue that we all need to find a way to address. And I hope that we're going to be able to do that in the future, be it with whomever sits on the next council, and through on to the council after that. But hopefully it does something that some type of approach can be taken to address these issues. I received an email from Dorothy Burton, as well as from Giselle Alvarez about meetings coming up. The one from Ms. Alvarez was regarding a meeting coming up with CASA in Greenbelt, and the date on that is February 12th. Looking to attend that meeting as well. Meeting that Ms. Burton brought up, a municipal leadership meeting that's going to be on February 19th. We're looking to try to attend that as well. And with that, I will conclude the ward report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lingua. Councilmember Inyang, Ward 4.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We'll be brief. So, today was my first day on a new job, first time in 4 years, and was definitely grateful for the new bus that cuts through the Riverdale Park Station community. I've made that walk to College Park Metro before, and it's a lot longer in the cold than the 3-minute bus ride. So that will be my new staple, and so just thinking about that was greatly appreciated. And then other in terms of just like logistical things, just I know there have been emails with town staff around the dumping of materials around sort of the Maryland Avenue, Hiker Biker Trail, Wells Run Park Place. That area sort of historically is just, stuff finds its way there. I know the Riverdale Park Station HOA has done cleaning events pretty much every Earth Day, and folks try to get whatever they can, but there sometimes are just bigger bulk trash items that find their way there. And so hopefully there's an opportunity to create a more, coordinated effort where I think a lot of residents would be sort of excited to be able to come in and do some beautification. For those folks, that's what they look out when they look out their front door, is that space. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what's possible there. And then, just lastly, just in light of everything, I'm married to a federal worker and understand see the trickling in, the emails that come in of just what is happening, what's not being known, the messages that are coming in, and finding out people who are, finding out very unceremoniously that their roles are no longer available, which is not lost on me in this community. And so it's definitely a trying time. So if you see someone, just give them a little more grace, extend a little more grace to your fellow neighbors. You're not sure what they're going through. And then the other thing is just, appreciate my colleague and the proclamation earlier this meeting about Black History Month. It's something that's been near and dear to me for my entire sort of professional career, so working in employee resource groups, leading ERGs for Black employees, and trying to find opportunities to find your voice and have yourself represented a little bit more in a month like this. And for the first time that I can remember, it is actively under attack in ways that we haven't seen in a long time. And so I know it can sometimes feel like the many proclamations that are read here seem to just be sort of rinse and repeat, but they are statements of the value of what we hold as a town, and they give me great pride to sort of see that we prioritize. One of the first things that we do as a body is to make those proclamations, and they resonate and they say a lot about who we are and what we value. So my hat off to whoever helps to contribute to write those. Well done, as always, and thank you for allowing me to see myself be seen a little bit more on a day like today. So thank you all. That's the rest of my comments.
Thank you, Councilmember Enyang. And I have to say that in this month in particular, I was very happy to read that proclamation. It was a good one. And as you say, it celebrating diversity is under attack, and it's good to be able to speak with a strong voice that it's a value of our town to do that. So thank you. Councilmember Mejia, Ward 5.
Good afternoon, council members. I have nothing really much to say because I'm not feeling well. It's like the whole family here, we got like the flu. But Mr. Mayor, it was nice working with you. Thank you for helping our community here in Riverdale. Gonna miss you, but you still be around. You're not going so far.
Yeah, I'm as I said last week, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm going to continue to be perhaps annoying to the council, but I will. I'm definitely going to stay very much involved, and do always reach out. I have a lot of numbers in my Rolodex, and
Yes.
I can call people.
All right.
Help you out.
Yeah. Help you all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councilmember Callan, Ward 6.
Say good evening, everybody. Ward 6, I think from last week, I'm not getting any headache. The place look quiet. No more reports to me, like the liquor store, the gas station, the shopping centers. Yeah. The only thing like this Spring 54th Avenue here, they complaining about the darkness of that corner. The place is too dark. I've been saying this for many, many times. And I hope the speed hump that I talk about, the town manager and the mayor can do something about it. Because some guys are running here like other people don't have life. So, but if we manage to put like 3 speed hump over there, maybe it's gonna be better. Then as for the Black History Month, for me, it's like it's not a celebration. It's a sorrow, something which is so sorrowful. Yeah, because I remember one time my grandfather, he was 120 years before he passed away. He was telling me something. That was sorry. See, there is one lady, they captured her, but that was in 1758. When they captured her, she escaped from them, but the place she escaped is far from her hometown, but she was like 12 years of age. So he grew in another part of Africa, but she still remember his people. My grandfather told me. So the time they find her, By then she have children, grandchildren, great grandchildren. She's old. It's a man that spot her. He looked like her sister. He came and report. Say, I saw an old woman. It looked like your sister. So he described the place. They went there. They asked his name. It's the same name they gave to her. They find out that that's the lady that escaped. So you see, this Black History Month, if I think the way, but anyway, this is how God say. Whatever God say, that is what's going to happen. And it's good again because God divided the blacks. They are all over the world. Even in China, black rule China. Even in England, black rule England. So this is how God do things. He do things for a purpose. So we have to, anyway, sorry, but we have to celebrate it. Yeah. So as for that, today I went around again. Mega Mart, all the many shopping center was closed. I went to the McDonald's, the workers, like 5 of them only. Then I came to Kmart, it's closed. I don't know what is happening, whether it's a holiday or what. So many shopping center was closed today. So the town is look cold and calm. Yeah. So for that, let me stop there. Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you, Councilmember Callan. The stories of Black history there are many that are sad, and what is inspiring is how well many Black people have done since then. So very good. And it may be that the shopping centers and stores that were closed today were part of what Councilmember Foe was speaking about, that it was the day without immigrants, that there was an event where many immigrants went on strike for the day after the attacks that they've been getting by the current administration. So maybe part of that.
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off. I have another video message here, which Mr. Donald Trump sent. He said, people said they have taken their job. Well, now the job is open. Let the people go now and apply. They want to see who are picking the apple, cultivating rice and this and that. So let nobody say now they take your job. No, Mr. Trump is contradicting himself. I have the audio now. Right now, I have it here with me. So maybe I will send it to you in your. Do you have WhatsApp?
Do I have what?
WhatsApp. In your phone.
Yeah.
Maybe I will send it to you. Let you listen to Mr. Trump. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, that's the end of Council Committee and Ward reports. That brings us to public comments on non-agenda items and consent agenda items. Are there any public comments this evening? Doesn't look like anyone wishes to speak up. So let's move along to the consent agenda. Consent agenda by our rules is a simple up or down vote. Anything that people wanted to take out should have been addressed during the approval of the agenda to have a full discussion. So may I please have a motion to approve consent agenda items?
So moved.
Second.
Oh,
so that was Councilmember Foe making the motion. I believe Councilmember Smith, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
When you flick the microphone on and off so fast, it's hard to catch you at it. So motion is made. And as I said, there's no discussion, so I'll do a roll call vote immediately. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang. Councilmember Inyang. You're muted.
And I was trying to go. I'm here.
That's fine. Councilmember Mejia,
Aye.
Councilmember Callan.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 6-0. That brings us to looks to be a fairly short legislative action. It's a bunch of introductions this evening. I'm going to ask for a presentation. There's a long memo on items 1 and 2, so ask staff to provide some context for members of the public and those who might be watching this tape in the future.
So, good evening, Mr. Mayor, again, and council. What you have in front of you, our request for introduction of a charter amendment resolution regarding amendments to Article 2 and Article 7, and as well as introduction of an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Section 6, the unclassified service offices and positions. What this is about is the creation of a deputy town manager position. We first started talking about this last summer, and then brought this forward just a few months ago, working both with the town attorney and the mayor, and I've worked closely on this language. It's language that the council has seen several times. And we've gotten clarification. We've tweaked language in different sections to respond to any concerns. And I believe that we have a good product here. This is about succession planning. I believe that in addition to myself, it's more likely than not that you will see turnover in 3 of the department heads in the next 2.5 to 3.5 years. And we have to start planning for that. And one way of doing that is the creation of a deputy position from within, and to allow me the flexibility to have someone work outside of just their department, and to learn more about the town operation more broadly, while also adding value to the town operation more broadly. And but it's all about planning for the future. And I believe this positions us where the town needs to be. So 2.5 to 3.5 years from now, when there's a larger staff transition, the organization will have the historical reference, as well as staff with a broader base of knowledge. So I ask for your support in seeing both the charter resolution or charter amendment and the ordinance introduced and then eventually approved here.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Just to remind the council, introduction requires only a single council member to introduce the legislation. And we've already had this briefing, and we typically do not discuss the legislation at introduction, but have a vigorous discussion at the work session and also at the following legislative session, or the following session where it can be adopted. As the schedule shows, there is a requirement in state law that we have a public hearing for the charter amendment, and that has to be advertised. And you can see the schedule for that there. And then there's an adoption of the changes, and then finally there's an effective date that it would occur. So given that we just have an introduction by a single council member, would someone like to introduce Charter Amendment Resolution 2025-CR-01 regarding amendments to Article 2, Town Council, and Article 7, Administration and Personnel?
So moved.
So introduced. I will take that as
introduced. Very good. I was wondering.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, Councilmember Foe.
Well, I was going to ask to see the top of the screen, but then you said everything that I would have said anyways. So, why be redundant?
Very good. So that brings us to legislative action item number 2, introduction of ordinance 2025-OR-01 regarding amendments to Chapter 2, Section 6 unclassified service offices and position. Would someone like to introduce ordinance 2025-OR-01?
So introduced.
Thank you, Councilmember Linguist. So those two pieces of legislation are introduced. I will give a very brief introduction to the third one. There's been discussion for well over a year about updating compensation of the mayor and town council. The charter and code do not allow a council to update their own salary, but they can update the salary of the incoming after the next election council. And there's been discussion about the fact that the salaries have not been adjusted for over 10 years and that there has been significant inflation in that time. And there's also a desire to index the salaries to inflation to prevent that sort of delay in the future, but that turns out to be fairly complicated. So this is an introduction of a simple ordinance to update the council and mayor salaries to match to account for inflation over the last more than 10 years since the last update. So would someone like to introduce ordinance 2025-OR-02 regarding amendments to chapter 2, section 7, compensation of elected officials?
So introduced.
Introduction by Councilmember Ifiak and Yang. Thank you, Councilmember. So those are the items of legislative action for this evening. We have one item of new business on the agenda, information technology IT services.
And we have Director Barnes who's going to present on this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, Mayor Thompson and members of the council. No action is requested tonight. Instead, staff are seeking a waiver of bid requirements and authorization for the town manager to sign a 3-year agreement with Peak Technology Partners, LLC, for information technology services for the town. This request will be on the agenda for the March the 3rd legislative meeting. The town has received quality IT services from Peak Technology Partners for well over 10 years. The current agreement is outdated. It was signed in 2014, and actually it was under the name of Base 2 LLC, which is a dissolved subsidiary of Peak Technology Partners. The rates have not changed in all of that time and under that current agreement. A new agreement is necessary. Peak has implemented a new service agreement and rate structure and has been working to move all of their current customers to the new agreement and rate structure. Peak has agreed to implement the new per user fee over a 3-year period of time. Staff have anticipated this change. We've budgeted for it in the current fiscal year and certainly will budget for it in the next fiscal year. We're satisfied with the services that Peak Technology provides us, and we recommend signing a 3-year agreement with Peak Technology Partners. They provide 24-hour service to the town. They also provide quality cybersecurity systems, processes, and advice. In fact, we are probably better positioned, according to the state, than some of our other municipalities of similar sizes. Peak provides all sorts of different services for us. They not only provide the 24/7 support, but they provide encryption and backup and 2-factor authentication. We're going through a security risk assessment currently with Peak Technology Partners. And as Laverne mentioned at our last meeting, we have received 2 cybersecurity grants from the state, and we received assistance from Peak in putting all of that together. Again, we're very happy with the service that they're providing, and we feel very confident in the services that we provide. So in the future, at the March 3rd meeting, staff will request a waiver of the bid requirements and authorization to sign a 3-year agreement with Peak.
Thank you, Director Barnes. Council members, any questions or comments about this presentation? Okay, if everyone is feeling shy, are there? Oh, Councilmember Lingua, go ahead.
No, I was just going to express a general appreciation for the effort being put forward by staff to make sure that we have a secure internet operation going.
Thank you.
Very good. Are there any public comments on this this presentation, the proposal to waive bid requirements and renew the contract? Okay, I will say that I've been very pleased with Peak's service myself. I've had a few calls over the years, and they have always been very responsive. And it's amazing to me that they maintained their rates for almost the same period of time as the council has maintained their salary. You know, it's been over 10 years, and so it's amazing that that they've been willing to do that for us and to work under the old agreement. And I think renewing agreement, coming up with a new agreement is a good path forward.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just make one additional comment.
Please do.
My recollection is they didn't always willingly at first hold to the same rates. I think it was Director Barnes holding them to account and saying, well, no, it says this, and fighting when she had to fight to get the best deal for the town. So she should be commended for working with Peak, for advancing us, but also for holding them accountable and keeping the price where it was so long. So,
well, my thanks to Director Barnes for that hard work, for maintaining the high quality of services and keeping an eye on the bottom line as well. Always good. Any additional comments or questions or thoughts? Okay, well, we'll expect to see that in March then. So thank you very much. Are there any other items of new business before we move on to unfinished business? Are there any items of unfinished business? Okay, we're going to have an early night, it looks like. May I please have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Smith with his lightning fast microphone finger. And this is neither debated nor discussed. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang.
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia.
Aye.
And Councilmember Calon.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 6-0. We are adjourned at 9:20 p.m. Thank you all very much.
Take care.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.